Members of the media, people of the Virgin Islands, good afternoon. First, let me thank God for His blessings and good fortune which He continues to bestow on these Virgin Islands. Today's press briefing is the beginning of a bi-monthly series of press briefings on various matters of the territory. This afternoon, allow me to speak on three important matters. One, the National Business Bureau. Two, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, or FATCA. And three, tourism initiatives. First, let's talk about the National Business Bureau, particularly small businesses. When my administration first served in 2003, we made small business development a priority. You see, we understood then, and it still is the case today, that small business development is essential to stimulating the economy. It provides jobs and is a central driver for circulating wealth throughout this economy. We also know that entrepreneurs continue to face many challenges, including access to capital and trained human resources. That is why we have re-established the National Business Bureau and have put in place a loan program to foster the growth of the business sector and to encourage new businesses as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to announce that the National Business Bureau and the National Bank of the Virgin Islands have partnered together to provide loans to viable businesses through a loan program that is the remit of the Department of Trade and Consumer Affairs. I'm pleased also to announce that the first business to benefit from this loan program is ENS Excavation Limited, a company specializing in environmental recycling. And we expect that two others will very shortly be approved once we have completed necessary review of their proposals and are satisfied that they meet all the requirements. To qualify, entrepreneurs, as did ENS, have to submit a strong business plan for startups and solid financials for existing businesses and to demonstrate the ability to repay. I know there are many Virgin Islanders who are keen to start their own businesses, and as a government we must do all that we can to support them. As of today, applicants may approach the National Business Bureau for evaluation and see how they can qualify for the loan guarantee program. We also urge intended borrowers to participate in upcoming training courses provided by the Bureau. We're not just lending monies, we are providing assistance with writing proper business plans. We're not just lending monies, we are setting criteria, training and counseling entrepreneurs and strategies for lucrative businesses. This is about making sure ideas are well fleshed out. It's also about making sure that businesses are long-lived. Currently, we are speaking with other commercial banks and other entities to provide a strong credit environment. I know that businesses will only thrive if they are given the necessary support to do so. My government is keeping its promise to support and improve the small business sector. Allow me now to speak about the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, or FATCA, as we usually call it. Another initiative that we are paying a lot of attention to. The United States has, and has always had, a tax regime that taxes all U.S. persons on their worldwide income. However, it has been the case that many United States persons do not pay their taxes when they are domiciled outside of the United States. In an attempt to increase compliance, the U.S. government has introduced FATCA, which is requiring all foreign financial institutions or foreign financial entities to report to the United States government on the financial accounts held by U.S. institutions that hold accounts with them. It is also important to realize that FATCA places absolutely no obligation on foreign governments, including the British Virgin Islands. My colleagues and I have, however, realized that it would be in the best interest of the industry here in the British Virgin Islands if foreign financial institutions operating here were provided with an environment that provides some degree of comfort, gives assurance of compliance with our BVI regulations and laws, and provide ease in their cooperation with the U.S. tax authorities. It is for this reason that we have decided to negotiate an intergovernmental agreement, or IGA, with the United States Treasury. The industry in the BVI was consulted on this matter as well, and they agree that indeed this would be most beneficial. We have the very considered opinion that this course is the best one to adopt for the BVI. We have already commenced talks with the U.S. Treasury and expect to continue to do so until a final agreement is reached. It's therefore very important that we all understand that the BVI is not being forced or coerced into finalizing an IGA, but instead we have the opinion that this is what is best for the British Virgin Islands. In short order, we will launch an education campaign to create awareness of FATCA, and we invite the public to be a part of the learning process. I want to speak about tourism for a bit. As we continue moving strategically forward in building a better Virgin Islands, I wish to speak about important tourism initiatives. One is about expanding markets. As part of our global tourism strategy, we are expanding into new and emerging markets. One such market is Brazil. Brazil presents considerable opportunity for the BVI. It also gives a platform to launch other initiatives in other Latin countries, such as Argentina and Chile. Earlier this year, I visited Brazil as part of the advanced work in opening up this market, and I look forward to formally opening this presence in October of this year. The BVI Tourist Board has selected the public relations firm of J.G. Black Book to represent BVI in the South America effective September 1st, 2013. In 2014, the BVI Tourist Board will begin to investigate the potential for the BVI in Asia with the opening of the BVI Hong Kong office. Let me also speak about the critical area of airlift. The much anticipated code-share agreement between Seabourn Airlines and American Airlines is now in place. This means that Seabourn affiliated destinations, including Virgin Gorda and Tortola, will now be available globally. Baggage transfers and ticketing will now be as seamless as it was with American Eagle. This is indeed very timely ahead of the booking period for the winter season. Cape Air will be adding Virgin Gorda to its scheduled destinations from San Juan daily, as well as flights from St. Thomas to Tortola. These flights are designed to connect with flights from the United States mainland and provide seamless connection onward to the BVI. Additionally, starting this winter, we will have regular seaplane service to North Sound, thereby increasing the number of daily available seats into Virgin Gorda, the crown jewel of our tourism product. Meanwhile, Air Sunshine and other private charters will continue to service Virgin Gorda Airport during the winter season ahead. In serving the needs of our European visitors, we are in discussions with carriers to improve airlift from Antigua and St. Martin. Public relations and marketing. Effective September 1st, 2013, the BVI Tourist Board will bring on board a new public relations agency with the objective of building the destination's awareness in our primary market, that is North America. In assisting small property development, the BVI Tourist Board has teamed up with a US-based company, Jackrabbit, to provide a booking engine on the board's website. This booking engine will enable prospective visitors to book hotel accommodation directly with all properties who sign up. This will be achieved at no cost to the participating properties. It is our goal that this will provide our smaller properties with a level playing field in exposure as well as technology. We expect to have the booking engine to be fully operational on or before November 15th of this year, 2013. The British Virgin Tourist Board is seeking to partner on strategic marketing and operational initiatives with the United States Virgin Islands Ports Authority and the Division of Tourism. We met as recently as last week here in the BVI to explore matters like ferry operations and BVI presence at airport facilities. Finally, customer service. Customer service and guest relations are paramount to BVI tourism. As such, the BVI Tourist Board has rolled out its We Are One BVI campaign, which is a major territory-wide service training initiative as we seek to become a destination that is focused on delivering an exceptional experience. The training program seeks to touch all facets of BVI life, culture, and industries. We have already started a series of workshops designed to sensitize and remind the residents of their role in tourism and the importance of good customer service and the importance of treating our visitors as guests in our home. In closing, my government will continue to do all they can to move this territory strategically forward so that we can build a better British Virgin Islands so generations to come would benefit. I thank you all for your time, and I welcome any questions you may have. I'm going to sit there.
Good afternoon, sir. Zan Lewis, ZBVI Radio. In relation to the loan agreement or the loans for under the National Business Bureau, is there a ceiling? You said one company has already been granted a loan. Is there a ceiling where persons have to work with, or the businesses have to work with, where being granted a loan is concerned?
We have not really established a definite ceiling at the moment, but we are considering the ceiling in around 100,000 maximum.
Gordon French, BVI Platinum. A follow-up to that question. Who are the persons that will determine who are eligible for loans, and what is the line of credit National Bank of the Virgin Islands is making available to the Bureau?
The program is being run by the Trade Department, Trade Investment Department, the National Business Bureau branch of the Trade Investment Department, and it is headed up by Mr. Kevin Smith. All applications are made to him. Once an application is made, the application must have a proper business plan must be attached, which will be evaluated to determine that the business will be successful and that repayments can be made.
Also asked about the line of credit National Bank of the Virgin Islands is making available.
I can't tell you the figure at the moment, but that will be augmented as necessary by the government of the Virgin Islands.
Thank you, Premier. Sean Rose, JTV News. With respect to the National Business Loan Guarantee Program, what guarantees that this program will reach out to potential and current young entrepreneurs and small and medium enterprises, and how will the authorities, that is the National Bank and the National Business Loan, help to prevent or reduce the likelihood of delinquency with regards to payments?
Exactly. That is the reason why we established the National Business Bureau in the first place, so that we can encourage investment and small businesses to start up and encourage them to be successful. And establishing the National Business Bureau is not something that we do in isolation. It is part of the work of the entire government. And you would recall that the Minister of Education has done considerable work with the young people in getting a register, for example, and also initiating new training programs. And so government will work together on this so that we'll be sure that the young people will benefit from the program.
Crystal Kenny from the BVI Beacon newspaper. Regarding the intergovernmental agreements with the U.S., I know you said they're still being negotiated, but what types of things are the BVI going to be obligated to do? Is it information sharing or?
The FATCA essentially is about reporting by institutions about the accounts of United States citizens. The BVI government is not expected to do anything, simply transmit the information, that's all. Yeah.
So then what, why is the intergovernmental agreement, this additional agreement that we were talking about, needed?
Yeah, because it will facilitate the transfer of information between the persons here and the United States Treasury.
Premier Ron Henry with Virgin Islands News Online. Were these new initiatives with the Business Bureau, Small Business Bureau, prompted by perhaps concerns that the economy might be in some sort of slide? And just a second part to that, is it that you still maintain that the economy is in a robust position despite concerns that residents have raised and businesses have also raised, and layoffs that have been happening within the past few years in the territory?
Sure, thank you. First of all, as I said when I made this statement, it was in 2003 that we began the formation of the Business Bureau. And because we thought it was important then, we still think it's important now. Hence, we re-established the National Business Bureau so that we can help small businesses to begin and to grow and to be successful. As far as the economy being robust, that is all relative. As I said in previous messages, we have our GDP has gone down maybe 3%, right? And if you consider that, in the grand scheme of things, where, for example, in our neighboring island, the GDP is down like 13%, in Puerto Rico is down like 13.4 or 14%. I would still think that our economy is robust. Of course, there have been some layoffs, but again, that is something that happens in a normal cycle of things too, and businesses have to adjust their practice according to the demand and what they have to do. But there has been some layoffs, but I don't think they've been to the extent that the GDP has been affected more than this 3%, and that's the indicator of the robust economy.
Premier, in your 2013 budget, you made mention of having a viable tourism industry. And one of the areas you outlined where to make this necessary is to have a 5-star hotel, and a hotel to accommodate 250 people. I noticed nothing much is being said on that now, despite the spoke about tourism. You throw the idea through the window?
Not at all, Zan. You probably would have heard that we have decided to invite a developer to work with Prospect to build that into a 5-star hotel. That is one area that I've been working on. We did send out a RFP several weeks ago, and we selected 2 companies who we are now looking at to determine who we want to go forward with as far as redeveloping the Prospect Reef Hotel. We're also looking at other areas in the territory where development of hotels or resorts can be done, because we also speaking with other possible investors, developers, about moving forward with projects.
In relation to what you said about Prospect Reef and the investor, I think you also said that in the 2013 budget that you're holding talks with this investor. That's a long time ago. What has happened since?
No, I did not say I was holding talk with this investor. This is a recent development where we have decided to hold talks with 2 investors to make a final determination. Yeah.
Premier, follow up to that question. Who are the 2 investors? And I need to ask about the cost of the contract with the 2 companies to provide public relations. One, Jack Rabbit, and I think the other one, Black Book or something like that. What are the value of those 2 contracts? And who are the 2 investors that you're holding talks with for Prospect Reef?
Yeah. I am afraid that I'm not at the moment ready to be able to make that announcement, since we are still having negotiations with them. And also I will have to provide the information on the cost of the contracts, which I will make sure that Dovis Board provides to me, and I'll have that ready. Okay. Thank you.
Premier, the reduction in cruise passengers to the BVI by some 22.5% in the first half of 2012 is said to have accounted for 13.3% decrease in overall visitor arrivals to the BVI in the first half of of 2012, more or less. So what can you say about the figures for the first quarter of 2013? Are we seeing an increase, or are things pretty much on the same level?
Since coming to office, we've had an aggressive marketing campaign, and what we have seen is that there's been a 13% increase in the first quarter of this year over last year, over 2012. That is in day trippers, and 4% increase in overnight arrivals for the same first quarter of this year compared to 2012.
Premier Horace Mills from BVI News. The Wall Street Journal earlier this week reported that since the collapse of the financial system in Cyprus, Russians have invested some $31.66 billion in the financial services sector here. Can you verify that information?
What I would say is that BVI is not a banking center, so to speak. You know, what we do, our main product is the BVI business company, and people, persons, individuals use the business company to do transactions, and that includes purchasing assets and moving assets from between various countries. But it is true that assets of significant value being transferred or exchanged or traded using BVI companies. Yes.
So can you say the difference that it has created since the collapse of the system in Cyprus?
I would not say that there's been, in fact, I can't say that there's been an increase in since the collapse of the system in Cyprus. I know that that practice of financial services continues to perform as it has over the past years, and certainly last year in 2012 there's no decrease in performance. I cannot tell you exactly what will happen now towards the end of this year, given all that has happened in the past several months. But so far, the performance of the financial service sector remains about the same as it has in the past year.
Yes, but I haven't heard you respond specifically to the report coming out of the central bank in Russia. Mm-hmm. Can you say whether or not this is a fact?
No, what I said is that, of course, BVI companies are used to transfer or trade it with assets, including money, and it is quite likely that it has happened. I have not investigated that myself, now do I have a need to, but it is possible, I'm sure, could have happened. But I'm also saying that we're not a banking center, so you won't find that money located in the BVI.
Another aspect of our economy, as we all know, is the construction sector. I was wondering if you have any updates to tell us about that in general.
Could you repeat that? I'm not sure.
Yeah, sure. I was just wondering if you have any update to give us about the construction sector in general, being that it's such a big part of the BVI economy.
Right, yeah. The construction sector has really slowed down in the past several years. And this is largely because there's been very little in major development going on in the country. And this is why we have made it a sort of a business to go out and look for major development so that that sector can again begin to flourish. That is why we are seeking to have the Prospect Reef Hotel be taken over and rebuilt or reconstructed, renovated. That is why we are pursuing the development of the cruise pier and the airport. And that is why we are also pursuing the development of other tourism properties in the country. I think it's probably timely also to have maybe some discussions with the banks about the availability of loans to home builders this time. Yeah.
Premier, could you give an indication of whether there has been an appointment in terms of director of the Hong Kong office for the territory, and can you give an indication also of the salary of that individual if there was an appointment?
No, there's not been an appointment as yet. No.
Premier, I was expecting to hear you tell us a little bit about the port development, but I didn't hear any of it. The opposition is expected to carry the whole issue, the scenario, the work being carried out with the port development to the governor to ask for a commission of inquiry to be conducted around this, how it has been done at this point. Are you feel confident, sir, that whatever is being undertaken by government is consistent with what the protocols has highlighted? And also, if so, why so many delays, I must say, as regards this project?
We are, of course, following the protocols as you indicated just now. And two things which are important when we are looking at projects such as this is to have them vetted by international specialists. And so we've had an international team of lawyers who are specialists in this kind of PPE arrangements. We've also had an international accounting firm who's been working with the selecting process. So we know that we did what was the right thing to do, and we proceeded according to what was the right process in order to arrive at the decision that we have made. Yeah.
So judging from what you're saying, you seem comfortable.
Yes.
And also, so when approval is likely from the UK government on this project? I think the Minister of Communications some time ago said that the government is in the process, but this seems to be a long process. When they hope to likely get that approval?
It is a process, but we have been keeping the United Kingdom government aware of the progress that we have made so far. And so we know that they are in tune with what we are doing. And we're now waiting on some final details from the company involved in the pier development before we can...
That's the final details.
When the cabinet approved the particular company to do the construction and the expansion of the shoreside works, there were several what you call conditions precedent which had to be met, and there was a time frame to meet those conditions precedent. So the time has not elapsed as yet. So as soon as that time is completed and those conditions precedent be met, then the final sub-application goes to the United Kingdom. And as I said before, we have been keeping them informed of the progress all along, and so we are confident that the process will continue to completion.
Follow-up question on the port project. We know an audit was conducted on this project. Do you feel that this audit will vindicate your government's position, and do you plan to pursue any efforts to make this audit public? And just want to know, who are the players in Tortola Pier Park Group? Who is Tortola Pier Park Group? Who are the players, who are the directors and principals in the group? We as a government did not order an audit on the company, and so that is not a matter for me. Right? If an audit was ordered and whoever did it wishes to make it public, then so be it. I have no problem with that. The Tortola Pier Park Group, I'm afraid I don't remember the names of the persons right now, but I will be able to supply that to you as soon as the meeting is over.
Premier, how healthy is the territory's financial services sector? According to your budget statement, 2013 statement, it recorded a 8% new incorporations in 2011. How many were there in 2012, and basically how healthy is the sector?
I cannot at this moment without some backup paper tell you exactly the numbers, but the sector remains healthy. As I said earlier, I cannot tell you what will happen in December, but so far for the first half of the year, the sector remains healthy, continues to perform.
Premier, the Minister for Education, Honorable Waldron, recently stated that the children of expats should be free Does your government have a general position on this law, this this nationality act, the British nationality act, that governs the citizenship issue regarding the children of expatriates?
No, it has not been discussed by the cabinet or the caucus of government at all. It was a statement made by the minister, and he said this was what, personal, the way he felt about it. But that matter had not previously been discussed and hasn't been discussed. It is a matter that I'm sure will have to be discussed, but we will determine when that will happen.
Do you support his view, Premier?
I think that the question of citizenship, about birth citizenship, is something that's very detailed. It's not something you can just make a statement without considering all the ramifications. The other thing that is important too is that the British Nationality Act is not an act of the part of the laws of the BVI. It's an act of Parliament of the United Kingdom. And so any recommendations that may be made will have to be made to the United Kingdom for, as far as that is concerned. And of course, any such recommendation or any such thought will have to be discussed widely and thoroughly with the people of the British Virgin Islands.
A follow-up question. Before the new year, you did promise that persons who have been living in the BVI for a protracted period of time would probably be considered regarding residency and so on. Have you made a decision regarding that, and how soon can we expect one?
In 2004, we made such a decision. We made a decision that anybody who had been here over 20 years at that particular time, 2004, that they would have some form of status, whether it's residency or belonging status, depends on where they were in the process. And we actually went all out and stuck to what we decided. And all those persons at that time who had applications in and who were here for 20 years were given status. During the past 4 years, I'm not sure, I wouldn't comment on that, but we are now looking again at the process, and we have to do some revision of the whole immigration policy. But again, we are looking at the process to make sure that persons who apply for citizenship, for status, are dealt with in a prompt way.
During the debate last month, the opposition accused the government of walking out on the Queen and demanded an apology. Are you prepared to apologize, and do you see it as a walkout on the Queen?
No, actually, if you were watching the debate, what we did was I wanted to have a discussion with my colleagues about the continuation of the process, and so we assembled outside to have that discussion. We returned back into the room within the time limit that was necessary for the session to continue. So it's, in my mind and most people, that's not considered a walkout.
So it would warrant an apology?
No.
Premier, seems that two members of your government have different agendas where you speak about taking the territory forward down the road in the future for the next 25 years. I'm speaking about one making mention of self-determination, which he claims is not independence. Another is claiming that at a certain time in your life you need to move out of your house from your mother's house, in the sense of separating from the UK government. What is your stance? What is your stance on this whole issue? I don't have to call it self-determination or independence. You tell me.
I think that all peoples, all countries, all nations have the desire to manage their own affairs. That's natural. The question really is timing. And the timing has to do with when the particular country is ready for that decision, economically, politically, socially. Right? So that is the whole thing. The other matter is that I think what the members said that it's time to start the conversation. The reality is that the conversation is ongoing. And you would probably recall that there's a UN Committee on Decolonization, which have regular meetings on the whole aspect of decolonization. And the Minister of Natural Resources has attended several of those meetings. So we are up to date on those discussions. But the matter of when, that is something that has to be decided. And as I said, it has to depend on when the country is ready for such a move.
Premier, what are you speaking about? Independence or self-determination? What's that?
Self-determination?
So you're not talking independence, you're talking self-determination?
Yeah.
So you don't see self-determination, independence are being the same? It's different?
They are closely linked, but maybe one's a little further than the other. But eventually, independence is the final goal.
So you won't push independence at this time? You're not ready for that?
No.
Mr. Premier, this is in relation to the economy. Immediately after you took up office, you announced a new tax measure that should have seen in lowering prices in the supermarkets and stores around the territory. But people continue to complain about high prices. I mean, you've advised them to shop locally, and you've advised supermarkets to lower the prices. But this is just not happening. People are complaining. And my question to you then, sir, is what's next as a government? What more can you do to lower the prices of commodities in the territory?
If you would look at the prices in the supermarkets in the BVI and compare them with prices in St. Thomas, and given all the other factors combined, I think you will appreciate, as most of us do, that there's very little difference. In some cases, BVI prices are lower. In some cases, St. Thomas prices are lower. It is true that there are other things, the factors such as the transportation factor, which tends to give the people in the businesses in the BVI less of an advantage, a disadvantage. And that is why we introduced that tax measure at that time.
So there's no other measure expected from government in relation to prices right now?
Not at this particular moment. But as you know, we have introduced other measures. For example, we increased the departure tax. And coming up to the 2013 budget, we are now looking at what other measures may be necessary or could be used to help with the stimulating businesses and help with the economy.
Premier, could you tell us what was the gross domestic product at the end of 2012? The figure.
I can't tell you the figure. I can just tell you that there was a decrease of about 3% over that day, 2011, but I can't give you the exact figure. Again, that I can provide for you.
Okay. In my final question at this time is in relation to a statement you made in your 2013 budget address when you responded to the closing of Cobensa, that crude oil service on St. Croix USVI. And you noted that the expected increase in the price of fossil fuels to households and businesses in the BVI warranted what you described as, quote, now is a good time to look more closely at green initiatives. Our environmental attributes illustrate the one that suits us best to pursue is solar, unquote. And a report was promised on this initiative by the end of the first quarter of 2013. What is the status of that report?
We are continuing to work towards realization of the increasing use of solar energy in the BVI. First of all, of course, we'll have to, and this is in the works, make it possible for individuals to be able to use solar panels without having to apply through the BVI Electricity Corporation. That also means other initiatives which have been planned now by the Minister of Communications, which will assist even the construction of these panels and sale in the British Virgin Islands. Yeah.
Premier, claims about conflict of interest in the government has been like a demon. People have been complaining, they've been raising concerns. Does this bother you? Do you think people have a legitimate concern about conflict of interest?
No, as far as I know, in fact, what I'd like to say is, if you have any particular instances, I would be able to address them right now. But where there's any suggestion of conflict of interest, whoever has this conflict can, of course, always come to myself, members of government, go to the governor if you wish, and these matters will be addressed. But if there's any specific issue that you wish to raise now, I'm happy to discuss it.
One member of your cabinet stood up in the House of Assembly in the last sitting and stated that he is a proud member of the investment club. And although there are certain legal arrangements made, he is still a member of the club, and that club, the government has to make decisions regarding that club. So do you think that's a cause for concern?
I think if you were to look at the structure of the B Investment Club, you will observe that while there's a club with a structure, there are many different companies, and people, various members of the club can be involved in whichever company they wish to be involved in, and not necessarily all the companies of the club.
So where do you draw the line between persons who want to be involved in private business and the running of government?
As long as there's no conflict of interest, yes, there's no difficulty. When in the practice is, in all businesses, if there's something that comes before the particular business that you may be involved with on a personal level, then you are not part of a discussion and a decision on that particular area.
Regarding airlift, you have spoken about increasing it from Antigua, I guess, and probably another country.
Regarding, please?
Airlift?
Okay, good.
Yes, from Antigua and another country. Why those countries?
We see there are three areas. We see the importance of increasing airlift from North America and Canada. That's our primary market. We also see, and they come through either Puerto Rico or usually St. Thomas. And this is why we want to have airlift capability to be able to, for them to leave from as far as maybe New York or even Miami. But we also know that visitors from the United Kingdom tend to come through Antigua. And so it is important to be able to offer a service, have a service that will get visitors who come through Antigua to BVI in as timely as possible. The same thing goes for St. Martin. Persons from other parts of Europe tend to use St. Martin, and hence the need to have regular and proper flights connection between St. Martin and Tortola.
As I talk about Antigua, Liat comes up. People have been complaining about Liat is always late, cancellation of flights, etc. Do you share these concerns, and have you spoken with Liat? Do you intend to speak with Liat?
Yeah, but that is a concern that many people have about Liat, and we've had discussions. And as a matter of fact, the tourist board are going to have discussions with Liat later in this year, I think in October, about what we can do to improve the service to the BVI. Of course, we're not speaking only with Liat, but with other carriers as well, to see if we can get the best opportunity for BVI so the our visitors can get here in a timely manner.
Premier, follow up to the question that was just asked. You said that you don't believe that there's any reason for any legitimate concern regarding the issue of conflicts of interest with companies and members of government. Do you have any concerns that there are perhaps ethical reasons or maybe ethical conflicts of interest where members of government can have some sort of control or influence in decisions made with companies that are, related to members, family members, or anything of that sort? That there are any fears of that happening? Perhaps?
No, as I said before, members are not directly involved in any company in which they have to make decisions about in government. And it is always standard in this government, in any government, when any company, when a matter comes up in which you may be involved or your family member may be involved, that you are basically not part of that decision. And that's standard.
Okay, Premier, could you say what your government's position is on gay marriage?
That is a matter, again, that we have not discussed.
Two quick questions, sir. Let's follow up on that gay marriage talk. You are willing to accommodate debate in the House of Assembly as regards that issue and taking a stance similar to what the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis is doing currently? You are willing to accommodate debate on that issue?
I'm willing to debate any issue.
So that's a yes.
I'm not saying, I haven't said to you what my position is. I'm saying that is something that has to be discussed. The position of government will be, will come out after a discussion, and no discussion has taken place on the matter. I know that there was a decision in the United Kingdom about gay marriage, but I also know that that decision does not indicate that the BVI must follow what the United Kingdom has decided to do.
But as a decision you won't support. You won't support that, sir? Would you? Sir, as regards the port development project and the lands on Wickhamski, and the recently signing of the contract with Tortola Prayer Park, what collateral you're likely to use where this project is concerned? Will the land be used as collateral?
This is a PPP, is a public-private partnership. And so it's basically PPP, TPP, and the ports were engaged in the exercise. And the land will be part of the whole package. Yeah.
So yes, it will be part of the collateral.
Part of the package. Yeah.
And also passenger taxes also will be part of everything.
Yeah, what we'll be discussing is everything will be, like I said, there's a partnership, right? The BVI government isn't going to be responsible for any donations of money, so to speak. It's all, I think the details will have to be discussed, but I'm sure that I'll be able to invite the Minister of Communications another time to speak to you about the details.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Premier, it would be remiss of me not to ask about the current employment climate in the territories. A number of young people are out looking for jobs. It is said that a number of expats reportedly are leaving, and it's all around the speculation that unemployment levels are rising. What is your comment to this? And my final question would be in relation to what you've mentioned about airlines going into Virgin Gorda, Seabourn, Cape Air. Are there any plans to have the runway lit and any further improvements to that particular runway and so forth?
What was your first question again?
My first question, what is the current employment climate in the territory?
It is true that there has been some increase in unemployment, and this is why we are, as a government, doing what we have to do to try to increase economic activity. And this is why we are, for example, looking at the development of Prospect Reef. This is why we are looking at other areas where development may be possible so that they can be engaged in activity so that, for example, the construction process can continue. This is why we are working, of course, in the financial services area to make sure that we continue to develop that area. This is, for example, why we have an office opening an office in Hong Kong. So to be able to continue to develop and grow to the financial services area so it can continue to contribute to employment. And this is why, of course, we have an increased and very strong marketing in the tourism products. So again, we can increase our arrivals, both of overnight visitors and day trippers. So again, the result of that will be increasing employment.
And the Virgin Gorda Airport situation?
The Virgin Gorda Airport, we're not at the moment seeking to provide lighting. but we continue to make sure that the runway and the other facilities are kept well. I think I would like to thank you very much for your questions, and thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks.